think we're on chapter 5. Yep, chapter 5. Own your environment. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Mark Miro. In my life, I want to be friends with anyone who does good work and takes pride in what he or she does. I take an interest in the person. I believe, like Tony Robbins says, that we become the people we are closest to. So it follows that a huge part of being successful is having the right people around you. They keep us accountable and push us to do things that might fall outside of our comfort zones. They motivate us when we aren't motivated. This was one of the missing pieces in Jake Roberts' life when it was unraveling. One of the hardest things to do is to surround yourself with people who hold you accountable, who care about you, who keep you honest. This goes back to identifying what you really want, because it takes some specific work. You don't just stumble upon the right people. If you truly want to succeed at owning it, don't go it alone. Instead, surround yourself with positive people. Get a crew. I know that's easy for me to say, right? Surrounding yourself with friends and positive people is easier said than done. First, are we still talking about hard versus easy? None of this is easy. I've been telling you that since page 1, but all of this is worthwhile, and all of it is doable. Second, I thought we were shedding that negative energy. The I can't. If you need to, go back and read about emotional gravity again. Repetition is the mother of all learning, remember? As I've said before, nobody can pull you down more than you can. That means that isolating yourself can be a bad thing if you don't believe in and love yourself. Just recently, I had a conversation with Jake during which he reached the epiphany that he had to learn to love himself in order to stay sober. It was powerful. In order for him to get to this point, I believe it was pivotal that he surrounded himself with people who pushed him and made him feel worthy of love. Without the right people in our lives, the ones we know will tell us hard truths when we need to hear them and lift us up when we are down. We can get stuck in our own heads, paralyzed by our own self-doubt. Being a 40-something wrestler performing like I was in my 20s, I had to do a lot of work to hold back the hands of time. Whenever I came off the road, I had a ritual called the Humpty Dumpty Day. That's when all the king's horses and all the king's men tried to put DDP back together again. I was always trying to build my crew with the most awesome people I could find in every area. For me, I was lucky enough to find Dr. Kenneth West, officially a doctor of chiropractic medicine, but more importantly, one of the most gifted applied kinesiologists I have met in my entire life. Think Yoda. He literally was one of the only people who could help repair my body in order to keep me performing at such an insane level all through my 40s. Then there was Terry, my massage therapist. Terry's amazing. I've been going to her for years. She was one of those massage therapists who was used to working on big, muscular athletes, so she would get really deep into the muscle. She was used to listening to me talk, mostly during our sessions, and it's probably why she's one of my closest friends. So one day, Terry seemed a little off, and when I asked her if she was okay, she went on a rant about turning 50 in 6 months. Oh my God, my life is over. It goes on and on. I'm not downplaying her feelings. We're friends, and I understand about getting older. Believe me. It's just that I thought it sounded ridiculous. Anyway, when Terry finally took a breath, I said, "Are you finished?" "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go off like that. Are you finished?" "Yes, I'm finished." I said, "Well, let me take you on a journey." She responded, "What?" "Room's dark, music's nice and soft. You know my body. I want you to massage me the way you're doing. But I want you to close your eyes and I want you to imagine that what I'm about to say is real." Okay. I could tell she didn't know where I was going, but she was humoring me. As she massaged me, and I'd never done this before ever in my entire life, it just came to me right then. I said, "Okay, it's not going to be your 50th birthday 6 months from now. It's not going to be your 50th birthday. It's going to be your 60th. "Oh my God, I get ill turning 50 and you want me to be 60? I continued, "There's 2 things here I'd like you to do. 1, believe what I'm saying. You got that part down. 2, keep your mouth shut and just go on the journey. You okay?" "Yes, I'm okay." "Good. Okay, now it's going to be your 50th..." Good. Okay, now it's not going to be your 50th or your 60th birthday. It's going to be your 70th. And a sort of sigh came out of her. Then I said, it's not going to be your 50th or your 60th or your 70th. It'll be your 80th. Your 80th birthday. I didn't let up. I went on. 81, 82, 83, 84, 85 years old. You were married to Warren since you were 20. You're still married. You just renewed your vows and you're still in love. You've not only gotten to see your son Jared grow up, but you watched your granddaughter grow up, and now you're watching your great-grandson and great-granddaughters grow up. I said, what a wonderful life you had. Now let me ask you, Terry, what would you give to go back in time 35 years and be 6 months from 50 again? And then I went, bang! Open up your eyes, you got your wish. That was a defining moment for Terry. And I always say that when a defining moment comes along, you either define the moment or the moment will define you. This is the first step toward what I call living with an attitude of gratitude. You can either wallow in your circumstances or appreciate the opportunity to change whatever in your life you want to change. It's all about changing your perspective. You don't have time to work out? What do you have time for? What is time for? If the doctor tells you tomorrow that you've got cancer, you're going to look at time a whole hell of a lot differently than you do now, right? It's too hard to eat clean. Go to a third world country. Look at the brown water trickling from one spout in the village. Look at the scraps of food that people try to live on. Is it really that hard to cruise the fresh produce section? This isn't a dream. This is really happening. This is a precious time is a precious commodity. So consider what it says about your self-worth when you waste it. What are your priorities? Make a list. Write it down. Your health, your life, what are they worth to you? Terry knew, or she was starting to figure it out. She was especially interested in losing weight because she was going to turn 50 that year. For some reason, when women are turning 50, my wife Brenda didn't do this, thank God, but for many women who are turning 50, it's like the end of the world for them. They put all this emotional gravity on themselves. They dive into the 10% and wallow there. This happens with men too, but nothing like with women. Terry would go on to lose 64 pounds. On her 50th birthday, she would be 134 pounds, which is the same weight she was when she graduated from college. Her outlook on life completely changed in that moment. Terry's now in her late 60s and she looks as good as she did in her late 50s. It's 17 years later now, and I can still so clearly remember what the vibe was like when Terry started hanging around with the DDPY crew. It was all positive. It was all eating right, all exercising. I remember when we developed this small group of people who would hang out once in a while, and we were always kind of on the same path. We would talk about healthy eating together, working out, and keeping our forward momentum. We helped each other stay accountable, and yes, occasionally we would have a few cocktails. I didn't show you her before picture. That's Terry's after picture. Hold on a minute. Let me show you Terry's before picture. Pardon me, I'm not being a good host. There it is. There. Okay. Had to look over to make sure you could see it. All right, that's Terry at 61 years young. Today, she is still unstoppable. What's truly hard? Working out a bit and putting decent food in your body, or aging, feeling your body sag, your joints aching and your lungs wheezing for every breath? Think about your own circle. Think about eating with a bunch of friends who don't care what they shove in their mouths. The challenge of eating healthy becomes so much harder if everyone around you is downing cheeseburgers, fries, and sodas. But if you were to go to dinner with me and my crew, the decision to eat healthy would be very, very simple. It's not something where you're like, oh, I really want to eat that, but it's not a struggle. It's as simple as, okay, I'm going to eat healthy. And then you pick something healthy to eat. That's just one example of how people around you influence your decisions. If you eat with me, it's all healthy. You might not think so, though. I make barbecue, diet barbecue with that, sugar-free barbecue ribs, sugar-free barbecue sauces, sugar-free coleslaw, all that stuff, and my grandkids can't even tell the difference. So, eating healthy at my house is easy. As long as you eat what I cook. Now, if you go out and buy a top ramen and cook that, that's on you. Don't do that though, because that's just wax. Alright, I digress. Where was I? For an extreme example, take Jake. Before I brought him over here, the closest person to him was a woman who cared about him, but who enabled him by allowing him to repeat his self-destructive behavior. The bottom line was that she was a good lady, but she just had no control of Jake, and the other people in his circle were probably junkies. I knew that if I got him away from the junkies, there was a good chance he wasn't going to use junk. Misery loves company, so get yourself as far away from the misery as you can. A less extreme example would be to stop joining your friends at the all-you-can-eat buffet when you're trying to cut back on eating unhealthy food. Choosing to eat at a place like that is just setting yourself up to fail because you're putting yourself in an environment that's too tempting for you to win. It's time to consciously choose the environments that align with what you really want to achieve. So much of the work you do for yourself can be undone if the people around you are dragging you down. People find it easiest to quit when those they're closest to tell them they fail. Or even if those around them are silently unsupportive. Change is a beautiful thing, but it can also be scary as hell. So why would you set yourself up to fail by having people around you who are going to be no help in what's often a truly daunting journey? We become the 5 people that we hang out with the most. So let's take a moment to think about those people. A lot of people don't pay attention to whom they associate with or why. They just let it happen. But you need to start understanding how the people around you impact your decisions. Now get out the pen and make a list of people closest to you and ask yourself these questions. Are you ready? Do they lift me up? Do they pull me down? Do they get me to do the things that I should do, but I am afraid to try? Are they happy for me when I succeed? Do they bully me? Are they driven or complacent? Are they optimistic or pessimistic? Are they passionate or apathetic? Are they loving or numb? Do they listen to me when I speak? These don't have to be yes or no answers. Rate each attribute on a scale of 1 to 10 if you want. Even if you can't necessarily score someone's whole personality. If you write about it, you're at least starting to think about it analytically. That's important. This is your life we're talking about. Depending on your answers, you may need to start to move away from some of those people, or you may have to have a few serious conversations, especially if the negativity is coming from the members of your family. You're changing, and you have the right to know if the people around you are going to be in or out. Are they with you or in your way? That can be a tough deal, but if you want to see the light at the end of this tunnel, this is where the tough decisions are made. Again, it's something you have to start thinking about. This is a DDPY success story. Ashley Brothers. All right. I'm going to have to start remembering to do this in the morning before I go out. My friend Ashley Brothers had to make one of the toughest decisions of her life a couple of years ago. I asked her if she regrets it. Here's her response. Ashley, my ex-husband was a very, very negative person in my life, a very toxic person. He was very demeaning toward me, verbally and emotionally abusive. The reason I was overweight for so long is that eating was my way of numbing my pain. It just got way out of hand. I was a stay-at-home mom for 5 years. Thankfully, my husband had a job that enabled me to stay home and take care of our kids. But he would turn it against me. He would say I was lazy. I don't do anything. I just sit on my butt. I'm fat. I'm worthless. Those were the main things that he would say to me. He would call me a bad mom if one of our kids didn't stay down for their nap. You're a horrible mother, he'd say. You don't know how to parent. I'd been with him for 13 years when my oldest daughter, who was 9 at the time, came up to me after my husband and I had had another huge fight. He had ended up breaking things and punching holes in the walls, and our daughter witnessed all that. The next day, she looked at me, and she said, I know you're not happy, and I want you to be happy. For my 9-year-old to say something like that woke me up. I didn't want her and my 2 boys to grow up thinking that that's what they needed to look for in a relationship, that that's how it was supposed to be in a marriage. Not even a week after she said that to me, I packed up our necessities when my husband went to work. We left there with our clothes and some bare essentials. No pictures, no personal mementos. I didn't have anything when we moved into my mom's house. Then maybe it was a good month or 2 after that, I got so depressed I didn't want to get out of bed. My mom helped me with a lot with my kids, and thank God for that because I just couldn't get myself to budge. I was immobile. Finally, my sister said, "Why don't you come to a gym with me and try to get some good brain chemicals popping? Let's get some feel-good chemicals going. You need to get out of the house and do something." That was a lifesaver. A really big part of my life change was being around supportive people. Most of them are family. They knew a little bit about what was happening behind closed doors. I confided and told them I'm kind of a private person. I don't really like to talk about things like that, so it made me feel stupid for being with my ex for as long as I had been. Mostly it was my mom, my sister, and my sister-in-law. Those 3 women helped me through a lot of what I went through. I also started writing things down. I like to journal. Anything and everything that was on my mind, anything that I was feeling or thinking. It just got written down when I started feeling overwhelmed by it. At first, it was things that he said to me. It would be questions to myself like, am I worthless? Am I fat? How can I change this? Or it would be, he said this to me and I can't believe he said that. Mainly, my writing consisted of just journaling about my horrible marriage. Eventually, I wrote about other things. To this day, I do it when I'm upset. I feel like it helps me get through it. Whether I'm upset about something stupid or little or something major, it helps. When I first started trying to live healthy and lose weight and stay positive, I met my now boyfriend. He has seen that I had hit a plateau as far as the weight loss. I had lost 50 pounds but wasn't losing any more. It was so frustrating. I was working really hard and nothing was giving me results. Sometimes we get there. Then he showed me Arthur's video. My boyfriend's a huge Diamond Dallas Page fan, and I was just like, wow. I ordered the DVD the next month, and when I got it, I started it right away. I lost 140 pounds in a year and a half. Maybe the biggest part of my change has come from helping other people. DDP Yoga recently posted my story online, and right away I had 4 women I had never met telling me a little bit of their stories on Facebook, their personal stories. They were asking for advice, and that was very overwhelming. But, like a good overwhelming, I've been there. I can't even explain the feeling that it gave me. I had felt so alone at some points, and I knew these women. I had felt so alone at some points, and I knew these women were feeling that way. Being able to help them know they're not alone, and that they can move past it, that they can get through it, it was just a great feeling for me, because I'd just gone through the same exact thing. Even though my family was a great help when I was going through my divorce, I also reached out beyond my family. I joined a divorce support group on Facebook, and they helped so much. I was able to talk and get the support I needed. I want people to know that there are always people out there who are in the same situation or even worse off than you. And reaching out to them through social media is such a powerful tool. There are private groups where outsiders can't even see that you're in them, so you can feel safe. I'm in a good place in my life now. A lot better, a lot happier. It's been great. You know, I can't tell you enough about how important a group is. Finding your group of people that help you and get you through it. Super important. The thing about your circle of friends, or your one friend, is that we're back into DDP. Well, DDP's talking now. This isn't the interview anymore. See, we ended. All right. The thing about your circle of friends, or your one friend, is that you need to determine whether or not they're good for you. If Ashley's sister hadn't been there to push her beyond her comfort zone, who knows where she'd be today. It's pretty incredible how much of a ripple effect these things can have, and I am certain that Ashley will go on to help others change their own lives. Just the other day, Ashley told me she's feeling so good about her life that she's starting the DDPY certification program. That's just so cool to me. I was gonna. I'm still gonna, but my wife wanted a truck, so I bought the truck first. Then I can get what I want. Maybe you're starting to notice that the people around you don't eat well, or that they drink too much, or they make you feel stupid for trying to get better or do something different. If a person you're hanging out with has the ability to do that to you, maybe you need to get away from that person. It's a well-known fact that I don't allow negative people in my life. It takes work to rid yourself of them, but it's so worth it. If you don't have positive people in your life right now, finding that person is going to be a process, like everything else I'm suggesting. But just like everything else I suggest, there's no reason you can't start right now. Listen to Ashley. Go on Facebook and visit YouTube. There are a million inspirational videos out there. All you've got to do is post a question and you'll be able to pull up a million answers. How could you not do that? As long as you can tell the difference between the wackos and the credible experts who honestly want to help you. It's never been easier for someone to be able to own it, ever. It's never been this easy. Hell, you can ask Siri, how do I get healthy? And she'll tell you. If you really want to fix yourself, it's never been easier to find people who want the same things you do. Are you too shy? Are you scared? Don't have the time? Another one of my favorite pieces of advice comes from Tony Robbins. The difference between must and should is the life you want and the life you have. What's your must? What must you have? And while you're reconsidering some of the people you surround yourself with, another thing you can do right now is change your surroundings. You can create what I call an accountability crib. Look around where you are. Your house, your apartment, your room. Is it good for you? How's it making you feel? If you're trying to lose weight and you've got a house full of processed, unhealthy crap, what are your chances of success? If you don't want to drink, but you've got a cabinet stocked with booze, what kind of game are you playing with yourself? What do you see when you look around? Clutter, dust, disarray, dishes in the sink? You already know what that says about your state of mind. Clean it up. Unless you have kids, then make them clean it up. Clean it up. When Jake first showed up, every time I saw him, he'd be wearing a t-shirt that was either depressingly morbid or just plain negative. What did that say about his mindset? What did it say about the story he was telling himself? After he started turning things around, he never showed up for our workout in a shirt that said simply, never... After he started turning things around, he showed up for our workout in a shirt that said simply, never give up. After that, I never saw bad sex jokes draped across his chest again. It's like when you go to some of the biggest schools, the best athletic programs, Alabama, UCLA, Ohio State. You walk into their facilities and you see inspiring quotes everywhere you turn. This book is full of them too. So write them down, stick them on your walls. I want you to see it and see it and see it and see it. Because it reaffirms what that fucking goal is. What we're here for in the first place. Write it down. Put it everywhere. Post-its. More than anything, the notion of an accountability crib establishes a mindset that you have to be accountable for your actions. That's part of why I encourage you to reach out, whether it's to me, to our DDP Yoga Facebook group, or to any group of positive-minded people. Let them know what you're trying to do, whether it's working out, eating healthy, or owning it. Other people are out there doing the same thing. Believe me, they'll check up on you. Ask how you're doing, and you'll do the same for them. When it comes to pursuing your goals, a lot of people need someone to be accountable to, because it can seem so much harder to do it on your own. Here's another success story. Like I said, success stories aren't one-off. I've got my own. DDPY success story, Todd Gilbert. Let's go ahead and show you the picture. Hopefully I got it. There it is. Alright. Even though Todd Gilbert was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy at birth, muscular dystrophy, he'd always lived his life with an attitude of gratitude, surrounded by positive, supportive friends. Instead of focusing on his physical limitations, which were freaking huge, he devoted his energy to do the things he could do. Then, at 32, the doctors told him that his condition was suddenly about to get even more devastating. As positive as he'd always been, and despite the support he'd always enjoyed, the news almost ended him. And here's his account. Todd. My particular kind of muscular dystrophy is non-progressive, so that means where it's at is where it stays, like it never gets worse. I'll never end up in a wheelchair or rapidly declining health all of a sudden. After about 6 or 7 years of it, you learn to just kind of work around it. You learn your limitations and understand what you can and can't do physically. You kind of make do. And so I never went for sports or any of that stuff because it didn't seem realistic. Instead, I became more of a musical person, got into theater and stuff in high school. And I was a choir nerd. You can have muscular dystrophy and still be pretty active. You can have a pretty fun social life and everything. And I've been in and out of bands since I was 15. I'm 36 now, so that's lots of years. But about 4 years ago, I'd been focusing on the drums above any other instrument. Well, in the music world, they say drums are a contact sport. Due to the combination of muscular dystrophy and all the added physical stress drumming was putting on my body, I started developing tendinitis in my wrist. It was suddenly getting harder and harder to do what I loved. It was agonizing. I would play along a song or two, and my wrist would feel like someone drove a hot knife through it. It was miserable. I'd be done playing a show, and I'd need someone to help me take my set apart because I couldn't move my hands without it hurting too much to disassemble everything myself. When I got the news from the doctor that I would have to stop playing altogether, it crushed me. Because it's what I've known. It's all I've known. Like I said, I didn't do sports. I'd never done any of the regular things that kids in school usually do. So art, and especially music, was my outlet. It was how I expressed myself. And when the doctor told me I'd have to give it up, it almost destroyed me inside. But I'd be damned if they were going to take everything away from me. I started looking around for ways to improve my situation. But going to gyms and stuff like that, it was actually making my condition worse. I would be going there and lifting whatever weight I could lift and doing those machines and everything. What I started to realize was I was just stressing my body out more by trying to move all that weight around. Nothing was working, and I really did feel defeated. I felt that it was almost hopeless. Finally, this thing I've been more or less ignoring my whole life, it's finally catching up with me. And that was a really hard pill to swallow. When I was pretty much at my lowest point, that's when my friend sent me the Arthur video. See page 27. Because he knew. He knew where I was in my head, and he knew what I was going through. We had been wrestling fans our entire lives. I'm not going to lie, that's what made me sit there and watch that video. And watching all the steps, watching Arthur getting better and better despite a debilitating problem that he had. It was an awakening for me. For the love of God, I thought, if he can do this, what's my excuse? Look at this guy who can barely walk. You know, I can walk. It's a struggle, but nothing compared to what Arthur went through. But when I got the DVD, there was still stuff I couldn't do. And I didn't understand what I could do to change it, to make it different for myself. So I wrote Dallas, just as a goof, thinking he's so busy he probably doesn't have time to reply to people. But you know, I took a shot anyway. The next day I get this 2-paragraph email back from him. He offered me all these tips and different ways to change things. He made a point to help me because he saw that I was willing to put the work in. I was already inspired, but that inspired me tons more. About 5 to 6 months later, the tendinitis was gone. Well, it might be there in a sense, but there's no more debilitating pain. It just stopped happening after I put in enough work. After the improvement started, it became a different world. I got back to what it was before the onset of all that. It actually increased the durability of my body. The joint pains and stuff like that were almost non-existent. I think what really saved me is that I've always been a really open person, and I have a group of close friends I could talk to. I would tell them, I don't know what to do anymore. Is this what my life is turning into? I can't believe this. This is crazy that after all these years, now I can't do this either. This is nuts. And sort of just stuff like that. Seeing my demeanor change as far as not being as energetic and positive as I usually am, my friend saw that I needed something to take me out of that. So when he saw that video, he knew that that was what I needed to see too. What can I say? He was right. It literally snapped me out of the self-doubting pity party I was throwing for myself. I was sitting there stewing in my own, oh, woe is me, this is horrible, there's nothing I can do, boo-hoo. It snapped me out of it because when I saw another person dealing with horrible things snap out of it like that, it inspired me to be able to do that as well. Seriously, having the right people around you can make all the difference in the world. Not only should your crew help you achieve your goals, but you should take responsibility for your role in others' lives too. I promise you that Doc West and Terry kept me going when the going was tough throughout my life, not just physically. And I know I've played a significant role in their lives too. Go back to the quote at the top of this chapter. Show me your friends, and I'll show you your future. In the end, your success is all about you. Your success in anything has everything to do with your attitude. Turning negatives into positives, living life at 90%, not listening to others who tell you what's not possible. You not only need to practice this in your own mind, but you also need to create an environment that will help shape and reinforce how you think. It's easier said than done, but it's absolutely critical. It makes all the difference in the world to be in the right environment. As I keep saying, creating profound change in your life begins with believing that you can do it. And this belief carries all the way through your journey. It's not always that easy when you face major hurdles, which you will. So you need to do everything in your power to maintain the right attitude. This applies to what you tell yourself and also who you choose to surround yourself with. You don't have to worry about not having any friends because an attitude of gratitude. Last paragraph, guys. You don't have to worry about not having any friends because an attitude of gratitude brings with it an entire confidence that will be crucial to your success. I've never been the best looking dude, and I haven't always been wealthy. I've been at the bottom of the barrel, but I've always been crazy confident in who I am and what I can do. The times that I haven't been, I was faking it until I made it. Believe that you can, and you will. It's all about in here. You know, I said it in my Facebook post. When you start a diet and add exercise in it, the weight starts to come off. But when you change your mind and you change your whole outlook, that opens up a whole new world and your entire life changes.